Hey y'all, it's your girl Jasmine. Welcome back to the Pretty Lounge channel. Before we get into the details of this video, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel here below so that you are notified when we release new videos. So here's what's popping this week at the Pretty Lounge. I am doing some stitched feed-in cornrows with mini braids on my assistant Cash. Everybody say, hey Cash, hey Cash. So to start these feed-ins, I always like to start with the middle part. Majority of the time, I do a symmetrical pattern where both sides match each other. So I normally start off with the middle part. And to begin, I am going to start with a mini braid in the middle of her head. So when braiding, I like to use a pintail, I believe they call it, a pintail comb, metal pin comb, I guess. I get them like in packs of 12 from the hair store. I like to use that because it's very sharp and it gives me very clean parts. I also like to use edge control while braiding. So sometimes I like to use even 24-hour hold edge control, and sometimes I like to use Murray's Extreme Hold Edge Wax. Both of those products I think are very good when braiding or for braiding. So just continue to watch. I will pop back in and forth on this video, but it is just a quick tutorial on how to do some feed-in cornrows, going back with stitch parting. And I will say my nails are very long. I've learned how to braid with them being long. They've come to help me now. They act like combs. I know that sounds kind of weird, but they do, especially when stitching. So I did teach myself how to stitch. At first I did it using the ends of a comb, but now I use my actual pinky nails. So just pay close attention here. Before braiding, I do put product on both sides of the part just to make sure that it's smooth going in, and then I separate pieces of hair that we will be feeding in, since these are feed-in cornrows. So when starting the braid, I just start with a big slit in the front, and then I just use my finger, my pinky finger, and I guess my index finger to make quote-unquote slits in the hair. And I know I'm moving kind of fast in this first braid, but just stay tuned because I have a full tutorial on these cornrow braids. So this is my feed-in method. I do just feed in one piece, braid with that piece, and then pick up the other piece. So I'm sure I'll do it again in here in just a second. Pick up a piece, put it in, braid with that one piece, and then feed in the second piece. Here you can see my stitch lines. They are very clean. Again, I use edge control on both sides of the part to make sure that it is slick. That is going to help with your stitching. So Cash wanted like a zigzag part somewhere in her braid, so I decided that I was gonna do a zigzag part on both sides and then keep the middle part straight, which I thought came out pretty cute. So when making my parts, again, just like I did my middle part, I like to, map out the part with the comb, and then once I want to make it very clean and crisp, I put product in the part and then go through it again, because it's just going to help to make sure that it is crisp, a crisp, clean part. Here I am bringing out that little slit to start off my stitch braids. I always start with a little slit in the front. I split that into 3 pieces and then I braid as normal. So I do not pick up the next piece. I probably braided like once. That was once, twice, and probably one more time, 3 times. And then I'll pick up my first piece here. And from then on out, you should be picking up pieces, going back one at a time. And I'm literally just scooping my nail through the hair, which if you have the product smoothed in correctly, it should create the line. Now, I will say when stitching, sometimes it is difficult to see the line until you move past it. So don't panic. Just keep stitching. Just keep going. You'll see them. You'll be like, oh snap, I'm stitching. Yes. Don't focus on it so much. Just keep scooping on each time. Each time you move through that corner row, make sure you are scooping with your nail or the ends of a comb. So anybody who knows me knows I braid the opposite way than I'm supposed to braid. Like I braid, I guess you call that under, I'm not sure. But it's easier for me because I have these nails. So on the last braid, I decided just to do the same thing, just a stitch braid going back. So, 2 mini braids so far and 3 big braids with the stitch parting. Okay, yes, we got half the head done. Looking good. That stitch part is clean. Okay, very clean stitches. Looks very nice. The braids aren't too thick. You can see the stitch parting. And I'm literally going to mimic the same thing on the other side. Really take your time with the parting. It is very important for any type of like braid hairstyle that your parts are clean and crisp. So I preferably like to use these pintail combs. They're very cheap. You can get them at the hair store because they make everything very clean. Very, very clean. I'm on the final 2 braids on the other side, and I am just replicating again the zigzag parting, kind of like I did on the other side, so that we can have a cohesive look. Okay, here I am one more time with a very detailed look at a stitch braid. So again, I pulled out my first section in the front. I've now braided about 3 times, and then I'm gonna start picking up hair, scooping with my index finger. You're gonna scoop and then braid. When you switch over your hands, you're gonna scoop and then braid. When you switch over your hands, you're gonna swoop. Well, not swoop, scoop, and then braid. So you're just gonna repeat that process. And then when adding in the feet in here, it's the same thing. It's just you put the braiding hair in between those 2 fingers, you leave one side hanging, braid a little bit, and then pick up the next piece, and you incorporate your scoop of the piece of hair for the stitch at the same time. And I know that can sound kind of confusing, but it's really just a memorized method with your fingers. So a long time ago, I learned from a lady to sew the back of the braids just to give it a more neater look. So sometimes, and only sometimes, I might stitch the back of the braids just to give it a cleaner look, so that everything is nice and neat and laid in the back. It is tight and put together. Because we are growing Cash's hair right now, I just wanted to make sure everything was intact so that these braids could last as long as they did. And I believe they lasted about a month, to be honest. We filmed this a little while ago. And here is the finished product before we dip and clean the braids and oil sheen, because I did use edge control. Edge control does make things look a little dried out, but you see how everything just looks nice and clean. The braids are tight and very close knit together. Oh yes, the favorite part, that mousse. Yes, that mousse. So this is probably, well, this is not my favorite part, but it's definitely the client's favorite part. The mousse on top of those braids. And you wrap them with I don't even know what they call those things. Wrap paper. A wrap strip. Yes, and you wrap it with a wrap strip. And place your client under the dryer. I do go the extra mile and put a paper that goes all the way around the back side. Yeah, Cash didn't like that, but that's okay. Because it's going to make sure that back foot stays flat. So before dipping the braids, I do make sure to always clean the braids. I cannot stand those little sticky hair pieces sticking up out the braid. And honestly and ultimately, they're going to end up poking your client. It's going to be a little annoying. They're going to be like, something's sticking me. And it's the braiding hair because you didn't cut it off. So normally, like if I do box braids, I go through every single last braid and cut. It just looks for a cleaner look. They just look cleaner. So always make sure to clean your braids and dip them braids, honey, because it's going to add movement, it's going to add shine, and ultimately it's going to seal those braids. So definitely dip your braids. Don't ever forget to dip your braids. And I do like to take a warm cloth and just rub on the braids, especially at the parts that couldn't reach the hot water. It just helps to loosen the braid up just so it's not so tight, you know. But you want them to be tight because you want them to last, but not that tight, you know what I'm saying? They need to be able to freely move. If she want to wrap them in a bun at the back of her neck, she should be able to do that. So there they are, free flowing, and we're about to remove these wraps. And this is the final look. Some clean cornrows. Now I do put spritz on at the end, and like I said, I wanted these to last. They was, you know how like your scalp be real clean. The spritz will get you a little bit. You like, stinging. Look, Cash not like it. But I wanted these to last, like I said, for her. And they did. It lasted a long time. So here we are. Clean stitch braids. Clean. Very, very clean. Very neat stitch braids. And again, her braids are sewn at the back just to make for a neater appearance. Everything looks very well put together. And there we have it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.